I want to share some experiences with you, and for this reason I am teaching this course titled The Minister and Finances. So let's have a conversation about the minister and finances. I would love to talk about sermon preparation or counseling techniques, but in this video series we will talk about some practical issues relating to the minister's personal finances and the church finances. Specifically, I want to talk about some major mistakes that I have made with finances so that you won't make the same mistakes. The first issue that we will explore is income tax and Social Security. Now, everyone will pay income tax on their earnings, even ministers, and everyone will need to contribute their part of Social Security. Now, ministers do have the option to opt out of Social Security for religious reasons, but I don't recommend it. I personally know ministers who went that route and later greatly regretted their decision. So, without any major overriding reasons, you should participate in the Social Security system. Ministers have a unique situation with taxes and Social Security. We file as employees for federal income tax purposes, but we file as self-employed for Social Security purposes. Now remember, your tax rate, whether it's 10% or 12% or 22%, is determined by your taxable income amount, but your Social Security rate is always 15.3.
Hey, Lori here. You're watching content provided by DOE1. Whether you are at the beginning of your ministry or seasoned, DOE1 is the premier location for all things ministry. Check us out at doe1.org. Now let's get back to your video.
Now, on a secular job, the employer must pay half of that amount, and the employee should pay the other half. So usually the employer pays the required 7.65% and then withholds another 7.65% from your paycheck and then deposits the entire 15.3% quarterly. So if you're pastoring a church, the church treasurer that writes your check should withhold the proper tax amount and make quarterly deposits to the IRS. However, by law, the church cannot withhold the Social Security contribution for a self-employed person. So, it's your responsibility to deposit quarterly. If the church cannot pay the employer's 7.65%, then you must pay the entire 15.3%. If the church does pay its part to you as an extra benefit, then you will owe income tax on that amount. If the church chooses to help you cover your part of Social Security, that additional 7.65% is taxable income also. Well, in my early days, I always forgot to pay my part of Social Security. I would need that money for important stuff, like a new suit for camp meeting, or to go to the steakhouse. So, every April 15th, I would not have saved up any money. So I'd have to run to the bank to borrow enough to pay my part of Social Security. And a one-year signature loan has a high interest rate with high monthly payments. And this became a repeating cycle. I would finally pay off that one-year loan in the spring and then immediately be forced to take out another loan for this year's Social Security. I was always living in the past, paying off yesterday's debt, living on someone else's good graces, paying through the nose to some bank. I was paying them to use their money because I didn't have enough self-discipline to save and deposit as I should. This was a self-inflicted injury. Then, after time, I was transferred to a larger church, and my salary went up, so my standard of living could go up. Hooray! I could dress better, drive better, eat better, No, my wife and I made a pact. For 1 year, we will maintain the same standard of living, continue to drive the same car and wear the same clothes, and we will dedicate that added income to getting out of the hole. You see, this new church had already been paying their half of the pastor's Social Security. Now I asked them to withhold too much from my salary for our taxes and only remit to us the same take-home pay as the earlier church. So then at the end of the year, we would apply the extra withholding to my outstanding Social Security obligation. So at tax time the next year, we were in much better shape. We paid the last payment on last year's loan, and now I don't have a loan. So we began to invest the same amount that I'd been paying for that loan, but we invested it into an IRA. No longer were we paying someone else for the use of their money. We were paying ourselves a retirement pension. We were not paying interest, we were receiving interest. And the net exchange between the amount of interest that was going out and the amount of interest that is now coming in was nearly 20%. Well, that's a pretty good return on investment. And when our taxes were prepared and he rolled over, we actually had a small refund. Now, not everyone is as foolish as I was, and you may have never made such an egregious error. However, there is something in your life that should be changed. You're working for your money, and your money should be working for you. There is a payment you're making, and you should be receiving a payment. There is something that you're buying, and you should be selling. Find it. Go get it. Years ago, I played racquetball with an expert, and he beat me badly. I was puffing and puffing, and he was hardly winded. Finally, he said, "You're always behind the ball. You wait until I hit the shot and then run after the ball. By the time you get there, it's already gone. You need to learn to anticipate, get ahead of the ball, move to the likely spot to receive the shot. The ball is playing you. You need to play the ball." Let's apply that to our lives. There is a labor that you are forced to do that could be turned around and someone could be working for you. There is a relationship that is emotionally draining you, and you could find a way to reverse the flow and start receiving strength from your relationships. Does your prayer life drain you or fill you? Does your devotional time become a chore, or do you receive strength from your personal time with the Lord? Does your sermon study bring you pain or joy? Are you dreading worship time, or are you excited about meeting with God? Everyone else is setting your agenda, filling your calendar. You need to decide ahead of time and set your own calendar. Stop living with more outgo than income. Stop living in the past and prepare for the future. Stop draining yourself with useless labor and use your strength for the really important stuff. Find some friends that fill you up, not drain you dry.
Hey, Lori here. If you like what you were watching, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click on the bell to receive notifications when new content goes live. You can find content like this on DOE1, the premier location for all things ministry. See you on the next video.